Okay guys, Jay Brother Performance here. Well, what's going on? This guy's been on this frame for months. This is getting old. Yeah, I know. It is getting old, isn't it? Well, let me tell you what's going on here, what I did, and what I'm going to do next. So yeah, frames are a lot of work. These are your foundation. This particular one needed a lot of help. It just had a lot of things overlooked on it, let's say. So what I've done here, if you've been following along with this, I've boxed all this in, and because this frame was never really meant to handle a lot of power or torque or anything, so this has all been plated in all the way to the back. And the biggest problem this frame had is where this rear section attaches. It was really weak and just ridiculously weak and dangerously weak. And this here is where the coilover is attached to, right on the very end of this. And the way these frames are designed, they're not really made to handle all that load on the back here. So I had to do a little bit of improvisation here, if you will, on this rear section. So if you look, let me get down here. I've done a lot of multi-pass welding here, and this is a piece of plate. It runs into here all the way over to the extension I put on. So that this goes over that extension, and that's all welded in, and so that's going to help strengthen that up. And let me get to the other side over here, and you can kind of see I've ground the weld, but you can see where I extended it here, because the frame used to end here, and you just had this little area here attaching it to the frame, and it wasn't welded very good at all. And I did a lot of multi-passes, built up the weld on that to strengthen that, and I notched and radiused this to clear the axle. So that's, much improved over what we had, and I feel pretty confident in that. So just fixing up this little section took some time, and it took time to plate all the rest in it too. You can see I plated all the way up to here, and then I just, I boxed it off at the end, because we've got this little, for our upper control arms, we got this bracket here, so I stopped there, and then the plate continues after that, and then, like I said, it goes all the way over to the extension. What I'm considering doing now, I may remove this piece, and I'm thinking what I'm gonna do, because this coilover kit, it's a triangulated full link. We didn't purchase it. Somebody had already set this up on the car, and we're going to try to reuse it just to save money. Because if we have to redo all this, buy another kit, you're adding a lot to the build. So we're going to try to use what we have. But what I don't like about it is the coilover is attached into here, and there's a lot of weird, kind of long standoffs and things, so the coilover is kind of out here, and I want to see if I can eliminate that. And I also I want to bring in the force of the coilover as close to here as I can. I want to try to move that center point closer to here if I can, rather than being out here, because again, the way this frame is designed, it wasn't really meant to be taking all the load back here. So anything we can do to minimize that, even though I've done a lot of reinforcing over here, and I'm sure it's going to be fine, but I'd feel better if we, didn't have real long standoffs, you know, on that coil over hanging off, and if we can kind of maybe get instead of the load being out here, say, maybe we can transfer that load in here, and that, you know, less leverage trying to bend this area of the frame. Okay, that'll make it a little bit stronger. So I'm gonna get this rear end back on here and mock all that up and see what that looks like next, you know, so that's the next step. So just making a decision on what we're gonna do here. I may, like I said, I may take this off and then make a spring perch that comes off of here. Of course, I've got to put the body back on and make sure I've got clearance for all that, or if I need to clearance the floor pan or something for it, that can be done if needed. So haven't made a decision on that yet, but that's kind of what I'm thinking. So in the next video, I'll let you know what we did there. And so we're ready I'm going to put the body back on this, and I've removed, yeah, I guess this was on here last time. I removed the original cross member for the transmission because I'm sure that's not going to work for the new setup. Totally new drivetrain now, so we're doing a 351 Windsor with a 4R70W transmission. And the nice thing about having this all plated here and flat, I can very easily, I'll probably put a piece of angle iron somewhere in here with some slots, and you can just, you know, I'll just make another cross member for the transmission. So it's, you know, it'll be very easy to mount it here now that this is all done. And so I have not yet fully welded the front cross member. I'm still, you know, this is kind of one of those things where you measure it 5 different times, 5 different ways, and it always looks a little different. And so I'm, you know, a little bit unsure of myself that it's, you know, square and on center and all that stuff. So I'm not really in a rush to fully weld that in yet, just in case I got to move it. I don't think I do, but if I do, I can. So I'm going to probably mock this whole chassis up before I make that decision. I'll put the suspension arms on, and, you know, front and rear, and that way I can check alignment and everything real good before I commit to that. So I'm not in a hurry for that. Not a big deal. It's roughly in place, so we can start. You know, next move is going to be we're going to get the motor. Owner of the car is going to bring the motor, and I'm going to provide the transmission, and we're going to put the body on here and see how that fits. And I'm going to have to modify the firewall, I'm sure. They make firewalls for these cars that give you more clearance for the engine, which I'm sure we're going to need. So take a look at that real quick. If I can, unfortunately can't really get to it too well because of all the junk I've collected in here. But so this original firewall is going to be removed. Somebody had cut this out already anyways, but you can buy a new one that this is recessed. I forget, I think it's 4 inches or something, and this is recessed to give you more clearance for the engine. Now, being a Ford engine with the distributor in the front, it's probably not as critical to have a lot more clearance back there, because most of the time people put Chevy motors in these things, and the distributor being in the back, you got to have room to get to it, and I think that's a lot of reason they have to clearance the firewall. But what I want to try to do, even though we've got the front-mounted distributor, I'm going to try to get the motor as far back on the chassis as I possibly can, just to transfer weight to the rear of the car as much as possible. So that's the goal there. So next step is we're going to put this rear end back in temporarily, check everything out, do my spring perches. I'm going to put the body on. just set that up there, you know, that way I can see if what I got to do underneath the body to clearance those spring perches, if anything. I think I've got room for it, honestly. You can see how it steps up back here, and I think we're going to be just fine. But so I gotta sort that out. That'll be in the next video, and like I said, put the body on, put the motor and trans mocked up in it, and get the motor mounts installed and radiator support installed. And once everything looks good, we'll finish welding this front end up and get this frame painted at some point. I think I've taken off everything I need to take off. I'm going to take this off. It's got that on each side. I don't know what it was for. Brake cables or something. I don't know, but we're not going to use those. Taking a lot of things off this frame. Frames they're time consuming when you do this kind of stuff, and I wanted to grind all the welds and everything, because some of this frame you're going to see, and we got to make that look nice. And I still got little things I got to fix. Like, I didn't do this section, but somebody did some grinding or something and really cut into the frame there. So I'll build that up with weld and grind that all down so we can hide that. And just because this is going to be the area of the frame that you're going to see. So we'll make that look nice. We won't worry so much about towards the back, but honestly, this frame's going to look really good once it's painted. I'll do some sanding on it and stuff, and looks a little ugly right now with all the multicolor and everything, but this frame's going to come out really nice, I think, and hopefully I didn't warp it too much with all the welding I did. That's another reason I didn't weld the front end in yet. If I tweak the frame a little bit or whatever, I may have to make an adjustment there. Who knows? But I don't think I damaged it too terribly. So, but a lot of welding's been done on this. Lots of welding wire, that's for sure. Lots of time welding and grinding, and it's just kind of a nasty job, really. And I kind of enjoy it, and I kind of don't. As it's starting to get hotter here in Texas, I don't want to be welding and grinding too much when it's 105 out, So the other thing I'm going to do as soon as all this nasty work is done, I'm going to move to the other building with the air conditioner. And spoiled like that, so I want to get in there before we get into summer here. So, okay, guys, so next video, we'll talk about what I did on the rear end, move those coilovers and those perches, and hopefully next time you see this, it's going to have an engine and transmission in it, and maybe the body will be there. I'll probably do another video at that point, let you know what we're going to do with the firewall and what we had to do there, and just how far back I can get the engine and trans. And I don't really honestly think, this is such a short wheelbase car, I don't really have a lot of room one way or the other to mount the motor. So, but I'm going to go back as far as I can. I think that's an advantage. So, okay, thanks for watching, and sorry there hasn't been a lot of updates on this, and I'm sorry you're still looking at an ugly old frame, but just hang in with me. This is going to start looking like a car real soon. Probably the next 2 videos, it'll start, looking like something that maybe could be roadworthy at some point. So, okay, thanks for watching, guys. See you on another one.